Hey guys, I just figured I'd do a quick write-up install guide on how to wire up one of these vapor speedometers and the indicators. All I'm going to do is kind of show you guys how to wire this thing up. I'm not going to show you how to set up anything because that's all manual stuff. Kind of a quick review. I'm very happy with this. It's a nice speedometer, pretty tough. I'm just going to go ahead and turn it on real quick, kind of show you how it looks when it lights up. So yeah, it's got 4 lights on there. Has a RPM gauge, has the ambient temp, and then also the engine temp, and then also has your speedometer and your tachometer and blah 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 blah. So alright, first things first, I'm going to go and show you how to wire up the speedometer. Before we get started, it'd be a good idea to get a crimping tool. You're going to also need some of these crimp fittings. Just make sure you get the red ones that are rated for 22 to 18 gauge wire. You go any bigger, you're going to have some problems with them fitting. And then I also get a nice pair of strippers. The crimp tool is about 30 bucks. I bought it on eBay. And then my strippers I got for about 20 bucks. So definitely worth kind of investing a little bit of money into those. So first things first, what would be a good idea is to label all of your indicator lights. So we have the speedometer light, which is green and black. We have the turn signal light, which is blue and orange. We have the high beam light, which is blue and green. We have the neutral light, which is aqua with a black stripe and black, and then we have the kickstand light, which is black with black and then yellow with a black stripe. When you pop those out of the speedometer, just go ahead and label those so you know what they are, just so there's no confusion later. Also, you're going to need a diode kit. I got this one from Bike Master. I was pretty happy with it, so I bought another one for this project. You're definitely going to need a diode kit for this, unless you're gonna lose a light if you don't. So first things first, we will move on to the power. If you want the actual backlight to light up, you're gonna need to run the power. So we're going to take the wires from the speedometer light, which is green, and typically with these Japanese bikes, green is always going to be neutral, or excuse me, negative or ground. So that's going to go to the negative terminal. There, it's ground. And then we got the black wire. Black wire is going to go to red, and then black wire is going to go to green. So go ahead and splice those and crimp them together. And also, when you cut these, it'd be also a good idea to actually label where they come off of as well. So kind of on both sides. So when you cut the indicator light, you got a little piece of tape saying, you know, that's the speedometer light, and then maybe a little bit of piece of tape on this side of a splice saying the speedometer light, just so you can kind of keep track of everything. Next, we're going to move on to the engine temp. It tells you to put it, remove the crush ring on the spark plug, and then put that in its place. Didn't fit, so I did this route. Pretty much what I did is I just took out the copper crush ring and just put that in its place. Now it's going to be a little loose, so just kind of try to center it the best that you can. I've been running my bike for 20 minutes. I don't have any oil coming out, so I think we're good. So just go ahead and do that. Also, it'd be a good idea to put a rag or something underneath, because a little bit of oil might come out. So that's that. Next, we're going to move on to the RPM wire. Now, the RPM wire is going to be pretty long. It's also going to probably have about 8 inches of red wire. So you're going to be cutting off a good chunk of it, at least if you go the route that I do. You can also wrap the wire around the spark plug cable. It says that in the manual. I'm not really fond of that route, just because usually the RPM gauge seems to bounce around a little bit when you go that route. So what I did is it says to go to the sensor wire, which is this guy right here, the striped wire, and then just hook the wire directly to the terminal. And you also have the green wire here. That's your negative wire. So what we're going to do is you're just going to pop this off. As you can see, I just there's a little hole in the spade terminal, so I just kind of shove that in there and then press the fitting down over it to make a nice seal. Now I'm going to put some silicone over there to make it really nice and watertight. Next we're going to move on to the speedometer wire. What I did is I ran it up and over along the brake line. As you can see, I also use a little bit of electrical tape to kind of hold everything together. And then what you're going to have to do is remove these two bolts right here. You're going to take those out, slide the caliper, pull this caliper out, kind of wiggle it around a little bit to kind of spread out the caliper. We're going to have a really hard time getting the caliper back on there. But what you're going to do, I don't know if I'm going to have enough light to actually look inside there. But as you can see, there's like a little black blob right there. That is this sensor itself. And what you're going to do is you're going to remove that. Make sure it's lined up with the magnet. There's the next thing. There's the magnet right there. What you're going to do is you're just going to kind of pop it in there, and there's a little clip on the back, and that's just going to kind of stay in place. Now it can wiggle around a little bit, but that's not really going to matter as long as it can't pop out. So what we're going to do is make sure that the sensor, sorry, I don't have enough light. The sensor and the magnet line up okay. See if I can get a little better. No, it's not going to happen. So just make sure that the magnet and the sensor line up, because if you don't, you're going to have a bad time. Also, I noticed that when you put the sensor in there, it's going to be incredibly tight. I really didn't need to put a screw in it or anything, because the thing's so darn tight in there. Next, that pretty much takes care of the actual speedometer itself. And then you're also going to notice this guy right here. That is actually takes the ambient temperature. So just keep that in mind in case you're kind of wondering what that does. Next, we're going to move on to the lights. Now, it doesn't matter where you put these lights. It just matters that you hook the wiring the exact same way that I do. So you got your plug here, and then we're going to move down. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to do the turn signal lights. And you're going to see we have the orange and the green. So we're going to take the orange. Now we're going to use our little diode kit that I was talking about. What I also like to do is put a little arrow. I don't know if it really matters, but that's what I like to do. So we're going to take the the orange to the blue, and then you're going to have these little ones that splice off, and these are going to actually go to your indicator lights. So you're going to go from your orange to the red, the light blue to the red. So pretty much your power comes in and then indicates a light. But pretty much how a diode works is it allows the voltage to go one way and one way only. So when you turn your turn signal on, the power can only go to the blue wire. It can't come back and then send the power to your turn signals. It's kind of what happens a lot of times when guys put the LED lights in their bikes and then all of a sudden all of their lights are flashing at the same time. That's because you need a diode kit, which is this guy right here. Next we're going to move over to, let's do the black wire. So the black wire, this is where it's going to get a little confusing in a way, because you have there's going to be two black wires, and that's going to be for your two indicators. So it's going to be coming from the turn signal, or excuse me, not the turn signal, but your kickstand light, and then the other one is going to be from your neutral light. Now this is a positive wire. Pretty much how neutral lights and kickstands lights work is there's always power going to it. It's just, I'm having a hard time explaining this, but the light bulb doesn't actually energize until it touches ground, and the switches are what kind of clicks to ground. So I'm not going to get into that. Just wire up the way that I do. So black wire to here, and then this one we're just going to kind of wrap around with some tape or something and just make sure this doesn't touch anything, because we don't need this little guy anymore. Next we're going to move on to the green. The green is It's going to be probably the most simple one. The green to green. So that's going to be your neutral wire, or your negative wire. Sorry, I keep saying neutral. Then let's move over to the aqua color. The aqua color there. And then we're going to go to the striped aqua color. Pretty straightforward. Then we're going to move over to the blue wire, dark blue wire coming from the indicator lights to the yellow and black wire. And then we're going to take the blue wire from the high beam light, and then we're going to go to this light blue color. I think that's pretty much it when it comes to wiring for this thing. It really wasn't too bad. I knocked this thing out in probably about an hour or two. Most of the time just kind of was trying to figure out what goes to what. Because if you look at these wires in the back here, so my neutral light and my kickstand light both have black wires. And how that works is they splice together and they come together to this black wire. And it's going to be the same thing with the turn signal light and my high beam light. You can see two green wires. These two green wires are going to then splice together and then become just this one green wire. That's why I said it's very critical that your wires go where I say they need to go, because if you mix one of those around, you're going to pretty much get a dead short somewhere. So hopefully this helped you guys. If you have any questions, just let me know. Oh, you know what? I'm going to actually do kind of a little tutorial, or at least I'll kind of show you what this thing can do. So it's a kickstand light. It doesn't actually have a kickstand light or indicator or whatever, so I just used they had like a red reverse light. And then there's the neutral light. It's a turn signal light. As you can see, it works just fine. And then the high beam light. Then we have the ambient temperature right now. That's the engine temperature. And I don't know, I've never run my bike that hot, so, or I just ran this thing for a little bit, so I'm not really sure why it's saying max at that. So I'm actually going to fire my bike up real quick to kind of show you the RPM actually working. Make sure that's cooked up. I don't think I have enough gas. That's it. Everything works. So, but yeah, if you guys have any questions or anything like that, feel free to ask. Hopefully I can answer them. But like